head and the neck pretty, I've got a good horse. It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. If the hindquarters and the back are working perfectly, the neck and the head will be there, and you won't have to touch it, and the horse will carry himself. It's the opposite. We've forgotten about it. Because we've created such a culture that says, gotta have it now, gotta have it quick, gotta have it pretty, we've forgotten about the whole point of what we're doing. And that's why we have horses, both in all arenas, whether it be the English or the Western. We have horses that break down way too early, when they used to be able to ride and perform effectively into their 20s. We have reining horses who, after they go to the futurities, and okay, this was sad. I'll tell you a story. This was really sad. I went and rode with a very, very respected reining trainer who I have a lot of respect for, and I got on an old war horse. The horse was 8. He was 8. He's just supposed to be coming into his prime of his body. His body's just now hitting the point that he can really, really do work. And this horse was completely broken down. He was wasted. He knew what he was doing. He was a fabulous reiner. He'd stop and spin and do all that stuff. But his body was wasted. He would have to get injections for the rest of his life just to keep him moving well enough to ride. And he's 8. He's got another 20 years of his life. And we wasted. We're completely wasted. Now, there's a lot of factors involved in that. There's the ground that we're riding in. Shoes can alter that. Saddles can alter that. Bits can alter that. But a lot of it comes down to how we're training our horses and when we're training our horses. So my goal, my biggest goal, is to see an industry like the reining industry, which I have so much passion for, though I've had to set it aside for a while, see that industry change in a way that I have reiners sliding 30 foot at age 30, and they come out of the arena walking like a 3-year-old. They're elastic. They're good. They're good to go. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to change. And we can get there. I believe we can. But we got to go back to what's been written and told us thousands of years now that works, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel in many ways. So, how do we do this? All right, self-carriage, talked about it. Let's move on a little bit. Freedom of motion, freedom of the back motion particularly. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. One of the big things, like I said, that I see is we spend a lot of time on the neck, we spend a lot of time on the head, and we like to flex this neck a lot. You guys have heard the term of overflexion or hyperflexion, or in some more advanced world it's called the roll curve. And what that basically means is that we're asking the horse to stretch his neck and his nose down and in towards his chest. And Colt knows this very well because I did it for many, many years. And this whole neck rounds out to an extreme in an effort to stretch the neck. Well, what are we really doing when we do that? Most of the time we don't know. We see so many trainers do it, so many very respected trainers do it at all levels, and we think, okay, this is the way to get my horse soft, this is the way to get him flexible, and this is the way to have him hold himself. Really what we're doing is there's a big ligament that goes from his pole, and that ligament stretches all down his neck, down his back, all the way to back here, and it's stretching to a point. Stretches to a point. It allows everything to connect together, and it keeps the vertebrae connected together. But when we overflex and ride overflex for a period of time, especially when we're working at speed or working strenuously, that ligament actually breaks. It's stretched so far, it's like a rubber band, it just snaps. I did that to my horse. I did that. I trained that way for years. And I did that to my horse. And after somebody told me what it was, it hurt like crazy, because I knew exactly what I did to my horse. And fortunately it's going away, but what you'll oftentimes see is about right here in his neck, sometimes a little farther, sometimes a little further back. When the horse is rounding his neck and flexing his neck, it looks like there's a bump. You'll see a little bump there. And it almost looked like the neck rounds, and then it just hits a peak, and then comes over where the pole is not at the highest point, it just hits a peak. That is exactly where it's broken. The ligament has literally torn in half, and calcium deposits have built up to reattach it. So to get that flexion, we've actually destroyed part of the horse and let a calcium build up. His body's way of saying, I just hurt myself, I need to rebuild. We've let that happen so that we can flex our horse up and get so-called collection. This horse, yep, he did it. He's 8. He is 8. He just recently, over the past year, he started to lose that. I really started to notice it about last year, but 5 years of his life were spent that way, training, and it broke. That hurt to hear that, but I saw it. So I've seen the x-rays of it, I've seen the scans of it, it's there. It literally breaks and the calcium builds it back up. So we need to stop the overflexing. The neck will come when the body is working properly and he's holding himself, which we'll start to see a little bit. He's not totally there yet. He's still got a long way to go. We'll start to see it. So we got that. The other thing about that is that in order for the horse to rebalance himself so that we can ride effectively and he can perform better, and that he can rebalance himself in order to establish his balance with our weight on top, we have to shift that balance. We said 70 on the front, 30 in the back. What we have to do is we have to shift that so the horse can come underneath himself and account for our weight. Now, just like this dressage whip, as I do that and the hindquarters comes underneath and I get more and more weight onto the hindquarters and the back comes up, the front end also comes up, hind end comes under, front end comes up, and it slopes over. We get that telescoping neck that comes over and has that beautiful extended neck like a stallion you'd see, because the horse is reestablishing his balance and lifting himself up. It's not something that we grab and push into and come on down here. That's not how it happens. It comes from the rear end. As the rear end comes under, the neck front now naturally telescopes up and out, and the pole will be at the highest point, and the neck can come to, or the head can come to vertical. But he does that himself as he learns to rebalance himself. That just doesn't happen because I ask for it. I can ask for it. I can round that neck out and I can have that pole come in. I can look at it.